on to information items. The administrator's monthly update. Chris?
Thanks, Bob. Good evening, everyone. The first piece of information I have for you is I want to introduce both Ken Quant and Greg Moravik. And they're here to report to the board the update on the evergreen roofing process. If you recall, we worked with Greg several years ago on another roofing project as a consultant. In the bidding process for a consultant, Greg was awarded that, and has been working with Ken as far as the process for both the labor part of the evergreen bid as well as the supply. So I'll turn it over to those two gentlemen to start.
Again, this is Mr. Greg Moravik, Commercial Consultants Group. He did the consulting with the district probably 8 years ago on the evergreen, the flat portion of the evergreen roof. We are now looking at the shingled portion of this particular building. I'll turn it over to Greg. He's got most of the information.
Let me just make a quick comment or two about Commercial Consultants Group. One of the reasons that I'm here, or that we're here, is because Commercial Consultants is an independent consulting agency. We don't promote any specific manufacturer's products. We don't promote any specific roofing contractors. So what I do is once I have a building owner that is in need of roof replacement, whether it's low slope commercial or steep slope that we're talking about tonight, we do our own field in-depth analysis of the site, and then we put together what we call a specification. There's probably a 60 or 70 page document here. There's 10 or 12 pages in the document that's the actual scope of work. The balance of it is we specialize in making sure that we minimize the risk for a school district in terms of making sure that we've applied for the wage rate determinations. We talk about insurance needs, so on and so forth. It's all very well detailed here, and the whole point is to make sure that all parties that are going to be involved, their roles and their responsibilities are clearly defined, so that if there's someone who falls off the roof or something happens, we've got something more than a one-page proposal saying I'll replace your roof for X number of dollars. So my job has really become as much a construction document as it is a risk document. And so what we did is we selected 3 qualified contractors. We invited them to all meet us here at the same time. We gave each one of them a set of these documents, walked the roof, answered any questions the contractors had, and gave them 8 or 9 days to submit their bids. What makes us a little bit different is that at Commercial Consultants, what our recommendation always is that we split the major parts of the material out of the contractor's bid for a couple of reasons. One, we eliminate the markup that normally a contractor would put on material for carrying the cost of it. Secondly, we guarantee that the material is not coming out of their warehouse, it's coming out of distribution. So it's new material rather than something that they had on the job a couple of years ago, which is ironic that all of a sudden they'll make a recommendation for certain shingles and they might have a lot left over from some other job. So we kind of take that away. So we have it's a 2-cycle bidding process. One is the contractors submit their bids for labor and miscellaneous materials, and then immediately after Ken and I reviewed those documents, we went back out to local distribution, ABC Supply, and Roofing Smart specifically, and said this is the quantity of materials and the type of materials we need. So then those materials came back as a competitive bid as well. So we had A and B, and we come up with a total number for the roof construction. And then the rest of my role is to make sure that if you approve that roofing, that we're here periodically to do inspections. Again, because they're independent, we're representing you as the building owner, rather than the contractor or the material people. We give you pretty good inspections for the jobs. Then we do a final inspection before any of the payouts take place. And again, when I come to take a look at how they're laying on shingles, we're also looking at what they're doing with their ladders, what they're doing with their trucks, whether somebody has been smoking on site, whether there's a boom box. There's a whole list of those kinds of things. We want to make these projects forgettable rather than unforgettable. So that's primarily what we do, and I want to come down this evening to answer any questions that anybody might have.
Do you take care of their liability insurance?
They do. And I'm glad you bring it up. In the specifications, they're required at the pre-construction meeting. We actually conduct a meeting several days before they start the work. And Ken and I sit down with them and talk about where you can park trucks, and there's paperwork that they've got to spend. Some of that's insurance paperwork. And all the insurance documents, in addition to us naming the amounts that are on there, the school district of Waterford and Commercial Consultants Group are both named as additionally insured. on their insurance policies. So we have some double coverage in insurance if you will.
Okay, can you verify also not meeting any kind of workman's comp, everything's up to date?
Yep, yeah, they have to submit all that paperwork, we don't let them start. We have a regular checklist that we go down. Ken will actually get a letter that's notice to proceed, and until we have that, they can't start the work.
Okay.
So, and we're in good shape here because we have contractors that know the program very well.
Can you take care of all the lien releases?
Pardon me?
Can you take care of every lien release?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
The coping cap work,
Yes.
in addition, you say we should do it.
Yeah. Ken and I talked about the coping cap. I think there's 400 feet or so.
412 feet.
412 feet of it. It actually is not connected directly to the roofing itself. There's a several foot space between the two. So I want to break that out as a separate entity. But this is the time to do it. I'm going to have sheet metal people already on site doing sheet metal work that's associated directly with the shingles. And some of the coping caps that are on there are old, and I don't want to say they were improperly installed originally, but there is a better method to install those that protects the exterior of the building a little bit better. And it was my feeling that this is the right time to do it.
And Carlson will do that?
Yes. Yep. They have their own sheet metal department.
Some of the problems we speak of with that coping is that staining that we've had on the front of the buildings and everything.
I was going to say, is there another extrusion design for doing coping to
Well,
cover the weather?
what they intend to do now is that coping cap sits almost perfectly horizontal. What they intend to do now is reuse as much of it as possible, replace what's necessary, but pitch it all back to the inside of the building so all the water runs onto the roof rather than down the face of the roof, or the face of the building.
Yeah, as long as we're sealed well on the inside of the wall. I would also.
Yeah.
That should take care of that hopefully in the future.
Well, you know, in the last 15 or 20 years, the industry's just gotten better
Yeah.
at some of those designs.
And in that original bid, or the full bid, that also includes putting metal fascia on all the exposed wood areas that are up on that roof. Right now, we've been painting them every few years. So that includes putting metal fascia on all the exposed wood areas up on the roof.
Just eliminates maintenance down the road.
So Ken, if it's approved tonight, how quickly can the process begin?
I've had a brief conversation with Carl Smercine because he was a little bitter. My guess is that they'll probably be ready to pull the trigger within a couple of weeks. The products are already available. ABC Supply was the low bidder, and they actually have that Atlas shingle in stock, so that shouldn't be a problem. Well, frankly, if the board approves it tonight, we want to move quickly because weather is going to become a factor for us. And shingles and built-up roofing, either one of those things don't work very well once it gets cold. So all we really have to do is sit down with Ken and work out a work schedule that's acceptable to the elementary school itself, and we're going to put things in place. But my impression is that we can move pretty quickly.
And would it be appropriate for us to say must be completed by date?
We can certainly do that, but I can tell you that in the specifications, it calls for the contractor on all of my projects that once they set up and start a project, you can't go anywhere else. So once they're here, they'll move very quickly, because otherwise I get bluebird days and they decide to drift off to another job. That doesn't happen with mine. And one of the things that makes me feel comfortable is I've worked with the people who did this job. I've worked with Carl Smercine for probably 25 or 30 years. I know who the crews are going to be. I know how they do their job. I know how they clean up at the end of the day. My jobs are run a little differently than if just a contractor shows up, because I don't want Ken calling me saying that there's paper blowing around on a Saturday afternoon. That's just part of the job, because that's stuff that you guys see. So we need to make sure that all those T's are crossed and I's dotted.
Any other questions anywhere?
I just want to know, is it about same color?
Sorry?
Same color.
As close to as what they
Yeah, it's very
manufacture
close.
now, right?
Yeah.
Complete rip-off?
Yes.
Tear out, do you anticipate any wood underneath you need to do?
At this point, we don't. There is a unit price in the bid form for deck replacement, and we have a procedure in place. If they go to tear off and they find or suspect any bad decking, the contractor cannot move forward replacing decking without my approval or Ken's.
Good.
And it would be a joint. And today with iPhones and so on, we can look at things pretty quickly. But the only thing that's not coming off, as Ken said, all of the fascia wood, which is the little piece of wood that sticks down several inches, that's all going to be cladded metal. The only thing we're not going to do is replace gutters if we don't have to. Ken and I looked at the gutters, and the gutters that are there all appear to be in very good shape, so I think they can be reused. But I also asked for a lineal foot price per gutter if we had to replace any. We wanted those numbers while still competitive.
Okay, how about all the sheet metal on the sides against the adjacent walls?
Anything that's a step flashing that has anything to do with the shingles is going to be replaced.
Okay.
Yeah.
Somebody want to make a motion?
I think we have way
We're down on the list yet, 7:20 or something like that. So, anyway, thank you very much. I appreciate your confidence, and hopefully we'll get a good job.
Thank you.